Snooze had a chocolate. Before jumping on, I will eat my lunch later. The Ferrero collection. It was remarkably yummy. From Valentine's Day. So today we're going to talk about the 4 different companies that I reviewed on the blog this week. Oh, there's also some stats that I thought were super interesting that I think I can mention. Let me get the downloads here. I have this cheat sheet that you can get on the blog. Right in the most recent blog where I cover the 4 marketing companies is actually this cheat sheet that you can download. And I'll read you some interesting stats. Hi, Laura. How's your day going? Okay, and you know what, Laura? I don't have questions from social media except for the ones that I have on our help desk. So I can always go over those. And if you do leave your question in the chat, I should be able to see it. And I'm glad you're here. Did you get lots of chocolate for Valentine's Day? I didn't actually ask you about Valentine's Day. I just had a chocolate before coming on where I should be eating real food. But I got Ferrero Rocher chocolates, and they're very yummy. And I'm also recording in this way and this way. Did you get too much? So I can record them both with this website called Restream, and it lets me go live on YouTube. So on all the platforms that you want to, in this direction and in this direction. So if you want to go live or to do recording, I'm learning how to do it. So you know what, Laura, you have quite a popular blog. Did you ever do email marketing? Like, was it ever even on your brain to get emails? Because most bloggers that I talk to, it's not really their first instinct. It's not really something they do. So here's why it's so important. For every dollar spent on marketing, email generates $42, which is amazingly good. Marketers who use segmented campaigns, meaning you divide up your emails into people that have taken certain actions and then email them something just about that, they notice as much as a 760% increase in revenue when you segment your list. So it's really important to be able to, I'm so glad, Laura, that you treasure your list. I do too. I feel like that's where I can experiment, because these people you guys have actually given me your email address, which is amazing. I don't give mine up lightly. But more important than that, I've given my email address all the time just to log into places, but I don't open the emails. There are very few that I actually open. And I was thinking about this the other day, like what are the ones that I actually open and why? And there's one that I open out of curiosity because I always want to know what they're up to. And she emails bits about her company and what they're up to professionally. And so I kind of open that just and scan it out of curiosity. One I open because the titles are always punny, like they make a pun out of every single segment. And I don't know how they managed to do that. Like, it's extremely creative. But I don't want to and there's some that are super businessy and full of good tips and lots of information. And I'll open them and read them a little bit. Do you ever get tired of a particular kind? I'll open up the comedy ones for a while, and then for a while I'll be just don't have time for that. And then sometimes they'll be all business and I'll open up those for a little while. And then I'm kind of like, I'm over it. Like, I just don't have the bandwidth to put it into practice. So then I won't open those for a little while. Like, so I don't know, maybe I'm the oddball, but I'm not terribly consistent with which ones I read. And I think figuring out what your audience reads and why is super important. And I'm trying to think if there's one that I read all the time just to keep up with the person. I can't quite think of one. No, that's not true. I do always open the security ones because it's relevant and I can use it. And it's interesting for me as a business, but it's also interesting stuff that I can use in my business to produce content. For me, that's what. And then there's some, personally, I always open Yisk. I don't know if you guys have that store, like JYSK. You can tell when bloggers have stepped up their game and things get spammy. But that's like stepped up their game as in their frequency or affiliate sales. And so they like have I hate that. You can tell when someone has a campaign because there's a sequence that is being taught online. And so everybody follows the sequence of a campaign. And there's not very many that I actually open. There's thought leaders in Instagram that I open, but I haven't found a really good one that I feel like is pure content that I would actually open every week. And that's an interesting question, Laura. To transition into what? Discreetly. I'm interested because I want to find a way there will be times when I want to find something that actually helps people so that they want to open it. I don't want to trick them into opening it. It's not, and the things that I like is this Yisk store, JYSK. It's like a IKEA, one of those like a Nordic type store, but it's super cheap. And then they have like all the beginner basic stuff that you would buy for like a college dorm room. And I always look to see what sales they have because it goes on so cheap that I'm like, oh, I need. And then I look up and I always open, we have a hardware store called Canadian Tire. And I always look at their flyer. And it's literally just because I dream. I wonder how many of you open a newsletter because you're dreaming. Like if it helps you dream. If there's a way to transition to meeting an objective, you know why they do it that way and why there's these campaigns is because they work. So it's hard to argue with something when it works. Kind of like I'm now encouraging everybody to put exit intent pop-ups on. So when somebody goes to click on the address bar, a pop-up will show up. And because it works. I'm not usually a fan of pop-ups, but when you look at the data, like what's the sense in having your sign up there if nobody sees it? And we have banner blindness, they call it now, because we see advertisements all the time. So nobody takes action on them unless they see them and unless it's something good. So the other thing is if you're not getting a few tips that I'll cover now, if you're not getting enough signups, because I would love to see conversion rates of like between 2 and 5% on sign up forms. And if it's lower than that, which they almost all are, if you have one that's just sits in the sidebar, that will get like 0.00 some conversion rate. And same with the ones in the footer, because they're like, okay, if you get a 0.001% conversion rate, is it actually worth the real estate on your blog? I think not. Especially because all that does is contribute to banner blindness. So now they're not going to see other stuff that you put in there. That's my thoughts. And so exit intent, changing the colors so that it's not always the same, which is becoming more and more easy to do now with the block editor. Another tip is the opt-in. Oh, I've heard some really good stuff on opt-ins on podcasts in the last 2 weeks. One rule that marketing school goes by is $100 rule. If it's not worth $100, then they don't put it on their website as an opt-in, which is amazing. The other thing is, so they will literally, and I think this is a great idea, hire somebody, because it goes beyond something you can create as a blogger. Otherwise, you could just Google it and get it online. Hire a developer to create a thing that they can give away. Or that sounds self-serving, not just a developer, but like a designer or something that you'd actually have to buy that would be valuable, and then give it away. The trick is to try and be able to afford it. So software is something that you buy once and then give away. Anything like that you can buy once and then give away. And then the other things that have become super popular are quizzes. So you can get customized feedback or customized results or a scan of your site, that kind of thing, and software. So the software kind of is like an SEO scan. So you can sign up and you can get an SEO report on your site, or and there's different kinds of SEO, because you'll want an on-page report, or you want an image report, or you could get a speed report, like a page insights report, all kinds of those things. But people will pay for that because you actually have to pay to get a good one online. There's lots of free versions, but I'll give an email address to use a piece of software easily. And so that's another thing. I've been wondering if there's software, quizzes, interactive stuff that would fit in the blogger world that we could brainstorm as giveaways. On my blog, I have 50 different ideas. Oh no, those aren't for giveaways. The 50 idea post is ideas on what to send in your newsletters. And then if you're looking into email marketing, the download has the best places to put sign-up forms, but then I strongly recommend using analytics to check your conversion rates. And if you have, this is new for me, I have never ever recommended a Google Analytics plugin, because they almost always use a lot of resources and slow down your site. That is still true. But I did install it on a couple of sites this week. And the reason is it will tell you the conversion rate without you having to know how to do the calculation. So for most of us, that's super valuable to not have to do the calculation, and for it also to say, these are the words people have clicked on. This is the form they clicked on. This is the button they clicked on this page. And this is, especially for downloads, you need to know who's downloading what. Is it just the same person downloading a whole bunch of times? Or are you getting different people downloading? Are you getting people that pick something and then unsubscribe? That would be a sign that the item isn't aligned with your audience and your niche. If you have an item that is super aligned, it'll be something that they want to get. And then it teases them about what exactly is available from you. Like, not only is this free that you've exchanged for your email address, but there's also a lot more where that came from. And here's another example. And then you do that welcome series with 4 or 5 emails. And so that, anyway, back to the Monster Insights is the one that we have installed, and it did. We took a rating of the page speed score before we installed it and after, and it totally had an effect. It went from 98% to in the 60%. So it is still true that it does affect it, but if you keep an eye on it and then you adjust your settings and your caching plugins or get more aggressive with your caching and your heartbeat and some of the things that we can set up in WP Rocket, you can accommodate for it. And it really depends on how important those metrics are, because if you're able to say this sign up form means nothing, nobody's signing up, so I can get rid of it and put an ad there. You get more page impressions on your ads, for example. But I think more of us are going to have to start doing things that are based in science and actual experiments than doing things based on what we like or what we think, what we guess. So it is super important. And if you can get away without a plugin, by all means, do it without a plugin, and then just go to Google Analytics and see if you can figure out a way to get the reports. You know that there are websites that will actually, you can type in a question like into Google, how many people clicked on my post? If you word it like that, like my page, my post, then it will say, you'll get a tutorial about how to look that up. And so then without a plugin, it'll say, go to this screen, click on this tab, that kind of thing. And then you can go through, follow the instructions and get the report to see who clicked on that button. And or not necessarily who, but how many clicked on it, how long they stayed on the page, the resulting page, or if people went through a download process. Those things really matter and they impact our income quite a bit. And instead of people fighting with me over like that they want something to be darker or bigger in design specs, it's really simple to look at the science and say, but this is going to get you more results. So let's do it this way. And then it's less guessing as well. So I find so the Insights is becoming super important. Insights is also pointing to web stories, if you haven't tried that yet, to break through and gain an audience. Web stories are becoming super popular. They're called Google Web Stories, and they're becoming really popular on Google. So it's a great way to get into SEO, and it's kind of a low-hanging fruit. Like you just install the plugin, which does not slow down your site, and use a template, and you basically make a little story that gets posted on Google. Now, there was controversy over it, but again, we went to the insights and looked, and people who have their stories go viral get a lot more clicks to their site. Like their ad revenue goes up because it's not just brand recognition that people are getting, which is what we at first thought. Same with the Pinterest thing. A lot of these things are like people using their logic against reality. Like Pinterest started having recipes where they would put the ingredients on it, and then you'd have to click through to get the instructions. And it became really popular to go, oh, no, don't put rich pins, because then people won't click through. They can just get it right from there. So basically the only thing it did was help Pinterest, because people will stay on Pinterest, and it would get brand recognition because more people, if it became popular, would see your pin, but not necessarily go to your site, and it wouldn't help your ad revenue. That is somebody's logic saying that that's a bad idea. And that's not the case. Like it turned out, I think for some people they did, and you can play with the numbers immediately, and you can watch them in Google Analytics go up and down. But playing a long-term game is always going to be in your best interest. Being able to serve your customers and being able to work with Pinterest. If they want to show rich pins, that's great. It helps your pins get further. Brand awareness is also really good for getting the right people on your profile. And maybe that results in less clicks today, but down the road, if Pinterest gets, not Pinterest, if your profile gets popular on Pinterest, your website will end up with long-term benefits. So it seems to be common sense to sometimes game the system. And I've been doing this for 14 years, and I can tell you it rarely is a good idea to game the system. Rarely. Even last night, I was on Facebook, and sometimes I just answer questions for people in different Facebook groups. There's great Facebook groups for SEO and for developers and for WordPress and beginners WordPress. And so I answer questions in there. One person was asking about, should I have my home address, because my office is in my home, on Google local places for SEO? You know, actually, that wasn't the question that I wanted to tell you about. There was one, it wasn't local SEO that they were asking about inbound links, backlinks. Backlinks is all the SEO rage. Backlinks means that somebody linked back to your site. Okay, so you don't get backlinks, you earn them. And advertisers ask you for a backlink to their site. They're saying, would you link to my site? And as soon as you say, great, I'll link to your site, and it will say no follow if you pay me, then all of a sudden the discussion ends. Hi, Sidesh. Leave your questions if you have any for me. We're just chatting. What's popular on Pinterest as far as views? What do you mean, like percents? Or what's getting the most views? Right now, idea pins, because they're focusing on short form video like everybody else as far as views, but it's still a search engine. So as long as you optimize your images and your descriptions and your titles and your bio and your boards descriptions, optimize them all with the family of keywords that you want to be found for, you'll do well on Pinterest in the long term. And verify your domain, get all the analytics that come after you've verified a domain. It's very helpful. What was I wanted to tell you, backlinks. Okay, backlinks. Somebody actually answered them just last night saying, go to all of the most reputable directories you can find and enter your company and link it back to your website. That is such old advice. And it's also very gamey. Like you might not get penalized, because some of them actually have quite a high domain authority score, a DA score. And so if they link to you, it might not harm your reputation with Google, but very, very rarely does it do any good. Like I don't think ever. Like if you're looking for a green light on some SEO program, you can go to all these directories. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, and you just put in your website under your category. So it's a directory, right? Like a Yellow Pages. And it'll link to your website, and there you have a link. Oh, you have a link, a backlink, yay. But it doesn't do anything. But if you go scan your site and it says, oh, you have 30 new backlinks, yay, green light. But that doesn't mean Google likes it. It means that program likes it. Like Google's not dumb. And it is very aware of all of the directories that keep popping up. And some of them are legit, like LinkedIn. Most of them are not. Most of them are just link farms. And if you get caught posting your website to a link farm, you will most definitely get penalized. Maybe not de-indexed entirely, but it won't do any good. Your best way of getting links, because everybody wants to get a backlink, is to earn them. So if you want people to find you, make sure you go and do your keyword research. Do not guess. That means going to Google Analytics, seeing what people have found you for, and then writing another post on that topic, or going to that post that you were found for and beefing it up a little bit, making it better, talking about more points. Go to Answer the Public, which is a website, get all the questions that are popular around that topic and start answering them. That is how to get known on a particular keyword. So even brand new websites, you might not be able to be found for chocolate cake, but you could be found for a German coconut vegan cake without coconut. I don't know. You'd have to be really beginner to want to go with a keyword that bad, but you can get to the top of Google. And that's why SEOs are just so good at gaming numbers. Like, sure, they can get you to the top of Google. For what word, though? Like, if there's no competition, you can get to the top, but there's also nobody going to be visiting your site. Okay, that's my rant on SEO. Backlinks are important. Please earn them, and please don't use directories. That's very old advice and not very good advice, in my opinion. The number of views really depends on the number of followers that you have, because it does go up as your entire profile becomes known for your keywords, Laura. But I can have Octavia review your site because she does Pinterest audits, and she'll know if you can increase the optimization for a certain keyword, or if your boards are competing with each other, or even if you have irrelevant boards, it waters down the effectiveness of that keyword strategy for your entire Pinterest profile. Pinterest has become a lot different than it was a year or two ago. So that's a good question, though. What to aim for? I think with Pinterest, it's always good to look what you did last month and try to do better this month. Instead of aiming for a target number, try to break through the crowd by using short form video on any platform nowadays, but also just aim to increase, which can be publishing new content or also making old content better. And one thing that I always tell everybody is to use strategy, because if you're going to put a bunch of effort into an email funnel, if you're going to put a bunch of effort into Pinterest or getting backlinks, the biggest question you have to answer is why? Why are you doing it? Have a reason, and have reasons that build upon each other so that you can accomplish your ultimate goal of selling the website, taking time off, working part-time, whatever it is that you want to do. But don't just try and get more numbers, because more numbers doesn't necessarily equal more income. It doesn't necessarily equal less work. Like, it really depends what you're trying to do. And so my favorite part of everything is actually discussing one-on-one what your real goals are, because it's so, I just find it really encouraging to get to know each one of you and what you are truly trying to accomplish, because all the advice out there is like, get bigger numbers or something. But why? Like, why are you doing that? Because if you're trying to make money, numbers, it is not about numbers. It's about engagement and loyalty and following and getting to know you and like you. And if you are about ad revenue, then it's about numbers, not on social media, but numbers going to your site, and then how to funnel people into your site and how to do that. It's just so fun. Like, it's just always a puzzle, and it's my most favorite thing to do in the world. So always ask yourself why you're doing something. It'll save you so much work doing stuff that might not actually get you closer to the end result that you really want. So that is like almost a perfect 29 minutes. Thank you for hanging out, Laura. Such good questions, as always. So, one more live, all wrapped up. That's all I have to say. Okay, I'll speak with you guys next week. And check my stories, because I'm posting little tidbits on there every day too. Okay, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Have a good week. Okay, how do I stop it?